Rumi, rumor has it you're in Costa Rica.
We came back.
Oh, you came back. Okay.
We're home, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, it was beautiful. Really a nice, beautiful.
Okay, good. Good talk, Shavua Tov.
I had a friend who sold his house. He sold his house and he moved to Costa Rica and he built a house on the beach and he lived there for 10 years. He ran a business fishing, deep sea fish, kayak fishing.
Great. Okay, today's daf is daf Memvav in Ksubis. As we learn for a four shleim for Yosef Israel ben Chaim Micham Alosi ben Ruma. Tanra from the top, from the 8th line on daf Memvav Manav. Tanra Bottom. Anshu also Zemam. And the parsha we were discussing since Friday, the parsha of Motzi Shemra. A man marries a woman and claims that she had committed adultery between the time that he got engaged, or between betrothal and marriage, and she wasn't a virgin at the time of marriage. In other words, she committed adultery. It's not simply a claim. He's got proof. He's got Adam who come and testify that she committed adultery. So if it's true, she's taken out and killed. If, however, it's not true, the father says no, she is not. She's still a virgin. And what does that mean? She's still a virgin. They bring proof that the Adam are liars. They're proving that the Adam are Zoman. Then the Adam Zoman are killed because they tried to kill her, and the husband has to pay the father of the girl 100 shekels, and Anshu says their mama, they Yisro said malchus. In other words, he gets both malchus and mammon, even though normally we said you don't get two punishments, except according to Rav Meir that says that that you pay money and you get malchus and mammon together. So normally we don't hold that, but here the pasuk says specifically Anshu also. Punish him with mammon paying the Yisro so, and you bind him, that's malchus. So Bishlam Ansho says, it says punish him with $100. You got to pay 100 shekels. V'nosno the anara. That's what the pasuk says. El v'Yisro so v'Yisro. When you say you bind him, zeh malchus. How do we know that refers to malchus? Amravu lamadnu Yisro mi-Yisro. It says here Yisro Ansho so. It says Yisro also, and bind him. It says Yisro also by Ben Soramora. So learn Yisro from Yisro, and by Ben Soramora it says Ben over there. Yisro mi Ben. So it's as if it says Ben over here also. Ben mi Ben, and it says it's as if it says Ben over here when it comes to the Otzi Shemra. There we have Xer Shava from Ben there to Ben that it says by in the case of Malchus. It says bin Hakos Russia if he is supposed to be punished with Malchus, goes on there talking Parsha of Malchus. So we have a connection between Ben and Ben. So that's how, now, even though this is sort of like a Xer Shava, and it's more that because Xer Shava, the word Ben is being pulled over to the Parsha of Motzi Shemra, that's not a problem when it comes to, we're not dealing with Kachim. Remember in Kachim, we had a problem. Can you learn A to B and B to C with Xer Shava? Here, not talking about Kachim. Okay, but if you give him Malchus, you have to give him a warning. Where is there a warning in the Torah that you shouldn't be Motzi Shemra? So don't be a talebearer. In other words, there's many psukim like Farshim say lo soni, you shouldn't oppress one another. Many psukim hint at the fact that you shouldn't lie and cheat and steal, but those are what we call lav shabaklos. It includes many things, and you don't get malchus on that. To get specific malchus, you have to have a specific. To get malchus, you have to have a specific lav. What's the lav? So Rav says it's lo selech rachil. Don't be a talebearer. Nasr minishmar to be called the word nishmar to hisham $10 a lo say from any bad thing, and this is a bad thing. Rav Lazar, my time alone mehai. Why didn't Rav Lazar, who learns that from lo selech rachil? Why did he learn from nishmar called the ra? Mi boy lo krepim yar. The pasuk of Nishmar to be called Ra is the teaching of the drush of Pinchas Yar. Nishmar to be called Ra. You can't over Pinchas Yar. A person shouldn't have impure thoughts during the day, impure sexual thoughts during the day. The other day, Tum of Eliel, so that he'll come to have he'll come to impurity at night. Basically, he will be a balkari at night if he has impure thoughts during the day. That's when Nishmar to be called Ra. Rav Nasa, my time alomer, my high. Why did Rav Nasa learn from Mishmar? Why didn't he learn off from Loseich Rachmecha? That's a warning to Bezdin. He learns Loseich Rachmecha is a warning to Bezdin. Lo Yerach Lezeh B'Kash Lezeh. Rachil is a lashon of Rachli. In other words, don't be soft on one litigant and hard on another. You should treat everybody the same. So that they have different drushes for different sukkah. Lo Merle'edim Bovei. Let's say the husband who now suspects his wife of adultery, post betrothal adultery. before they got married. And he suspects, let's say he didn't tell the Adam to come and testify for me. They came on their own. The Haymeet Nosa. Two Adam come along and say that this woman committed adultery between betrothal and marriage. Haymeet Nosa Me'alain. Who he doesn't get Malchus. He doesn't have to pay the money and get Malchus unless he was the one who brought the Adam. Pasuk says he was a man like even both her and the Adam Zoma, the ones who lied about her, are both taken, if it's true, are taken to be killed at the place where at the hangman's noose, right? Basically, they're not hung over here. They're thrown down and put stones on their body to the place of the stoning. That's their both things. Says Mar, he was so mesakadai. What do you mean? If she's an adulterer, she gets killed, and the Adam aren't liars. If the Adam are liars, then she's not killed. She's not an adulteress. So what do you mean? Both her and the Adam and the lying witnesses, and not both mela ohi ozam might give them skill. In other words, again, if she committed adultery, we learned yesterday that even if she's no longer a nara, it goes according to the time that she committed adultery. She committed adultery while she's a nara, and if she committed adultery when she's a ketana, she's not responsible. But during the time that she's a nara, if she's a nara ma'orasa, not married yet, she gets skila. So if she did commit adultery, her punishment is skila. If, however, she didn't commit adultery, and the Adam are trying to claim that she committed adultery, and they turn out to be liars. Why are they liars? Because the father of the girl bring other witnesses who are mazim them, who claim that the first Adam who testified that she's an adulterer are liars, and they get killed instead. So time of the law. So what do you say over here? If he didn't tell them to bear witness, the husband didn't say anything. The Adam came on their own and claimed that she's an adulteress, and he doesn't pay the money, nor does he get malchus. Time of the law, but if he told them to come, even though he didn't hire them, he didn't pay them at all, it's mashma that he's responsible and he would get malchus and pay the fine. You're not chayiv until he actually pays the Adam. You have to pay if he paid the witnesses to come and lie, then he's chayiv. My time Rabbi Yehuda, what's his reason? It says over here, lashon of simon you should lay or you should put, and it says sima when it comes to interest, paying interest usury. He'll put false charges against her. Except when it says when it comes to paying interest usury, loss of sima love neshach. So lashon of sima there. Malon, just like over there we're talking about money, interest means money. Taking money and taking more money. Afkan moment here also means money. Rav Yosef Sidoni, Rav Shimon in the yeshiva of Shimon, he also confirmed that Asi Sima, he had this drasha that he's only chayiv, the husband, if it turns out that he's lying and he hired false witnesses to come and bear testimony and say that she's an adulteress. Not only do the witnesses get killed because they lied, they're lying witnesses, but also he has to pay the $100 and suffer malchus. Based on Sima. Boy, Rav Yom, here's a bunch of questions about, so let's get into some details. Sachem Bekarka. Normally, when we talk about interest, it's interest with cash. You pay, you borrow $100 and you pay back $120. What happens if you hired them with giving them land? That also be in theory, you could pay interest with land, give them back more land, but that's not normally the way it's done. Usually it's with money. So if you hired them to make money, would that also apply? If you hold that you're only chayiv unless you're only chayiv if you paid them. What happens if you didn't pay them with cash, with money? You paid them with karka. Mao. What happens if you gave them less than a shavaputa? It's not really considered money. Mao, would he be chayiv there too? Or shnei puta, you paid them both with one pruta. So they each got effectively half a pruta with me there. These questions aren't answered. More questions. Boy Ravashi, Hosi Shemer al Nesu and Harishonim. Let's say this fellow did this. Reuben married Leah, right? And then he suspected that he betrothed her, and then when he married her, he suspected that she had committed adultery. He didn't find any psulim, and he got witnesses to prove that she had committed adultery. But he didn't say anything now. He divorced her. Then he remarried her again. He's not a Kohen. He married her again, and now he brings the witnesses against him on his previous marriage. The guy's got two ksubas, right? Right? Previous marriage. What do you say there? On the first marriage. Now, would that also apply here? Would the rules of Motzi Shemer apply to $100 and the malchus, etc.? On the Suyachav Mao, what happens if he's a yavam? Reuben married her and he died, right? And now there were no children. So Shimon performed yibum. Can Shimon also claim she committed adultery between the time of betrothal and the time that his brother married her? Right? Would you hear them out? So we'll at least decide one question. We had this thing was mentioned a few days ago, or last week. The father says in this whole discussion in the parsha of Moshe Shemra, the father says, I gave my daughter to this man, and he claims that she committed adultery to this man. Who did he give it to this man? To this man, not to the Yavam. So in case of Yavam, it doesn't apply. Meaning the whole parsha doesn't apply. Now, if a woman committed adultery with Adam and Asra, she's killed anyway, right? She's killed on her own right, on her own sin. If she's Nara Marasa, it's Skila, or Ma'orasa, it's Skila. And if she's married, if she's fully married, then it's Chenek. But either way, but here we're talking the parsha of Motzi Shemra that talks about the husband claiming it with the Adam and the father and all this and about $100 and the Malchus. That doesn't apply in the case of Yavam. My Rabbanan, my Rav Meir. Yesterday we had a discussion between Rabbanan and Rav Meir Machlokas. We had two ways to learn the Machlokas yesterday. Here the Gemara brings down the source. What's the Machlokas between Rabbanan and Rav Elazar in regard to the details of Motzi Shemra? The Tanya case of Shemra. The husband comes to Besin, Omer Ploni, he says, listen, Omer Ploni, he says, this guy says, his husband says, I didn't find your daughter has no virginity. She wasn't a virgin. When I betrothed her, she was a virgin. Now when I married, she's not a virgin. She must have committed adultery, and he brings Adam. Since if there's Adam that she committed adultery that during the time that she was betrothed, so she's only entitled to $100. Says Gemara, what do you mean? If there's Adam that she committed adultery, she's supposed to be killed, assuming there was Hasra, Adam and Hasra supposed to be killed. Then she's not killed. If she committed it, Adam say, no, you made a mistake. Before you betrothed her, she committed adultery when she was single. That's not called adultery. She's just not a virgin anymore. Then yesh l'ksuba mana. Now we had a machlokas before, we had a shalah before. If he betrothed her and he thought she was a psula and she turns out not to be a psula, is it a whole mekach tos? Or is she just entitled to $100 and to 100 instead of 200 like a normal beula? So this Tana holds that, yeah, if the Adam say she committed adultery after betrothal, she's killed. If the Adam say she committed adultery before betrothal, meaning it's not really adultery, it's just that she had bia with some guy, and she's entitled to $100. Her ksuba is $100. She still has ksuba, but she just wasn't a virgin. Nimtza shemra, ain't shemra. Let's say it turns out that's not true. It's all false charges. It's not a bad reputation. She committed adultery. Oh, who loka? He gets it's the husband who hired the witnesses, or even if he didn't hire them according to Chachamim, according to he hired them, but he brought the witnesses and he made this claim. He gets malchus, but also made and he gives $100. Bain ball, bain low ball. Here's the key machlokes between Rabbanan and Rav Elazar Yaakov. The Chacham say he doesn't actually have to commit to consummate with her. He just, before he didn't consummate with her, he married her, and then he heard witnesses. He found out that there's rumors about her that she committed adultery before the Nisuin. So the Rabbanan say whether he had bia with her when the husband consummated or not, the whole parsha applies. The whole parsha applies. He says, I understand that she's not a virgin, and here's Adam. And it turns out they're liars, and he brought him. He still has to pay $100, and he gets malchus, even though he didn't consummate with her. Why does he get the malchus? For lying, for making false charges against her. But as Yaakov says, no, Lo Nemru Dvarma, the whole parsha was only written Elik Shabal, only if he consummated the marriage. That's the key machlokas here. So Bishlam, we're going to ask on each one. Bishlam, Rav Meir Shapiro says in Boy, look at the parsha. It says, I married this daughter. Your daughter, you came to me, and you gave me this daughter, and I came to her, and I was near her, meaning consummated. Makes sense. What does it mean? I came to her and I came near to her. You didn't even consummate. You don't have to consummate for this parsha to hold true. I came against her with false charges. I came with charges of, well, we didn't know yet that they're false, but he's claiming I came with her with the charges that she committed adultery with words. That's what he means. It doesn't mean literally that he consummated with her. It means I came to her I came to it with words. What's going on over here? I didn't find any virginity in your daughter, right? She wasn't a virgin. Why? Because he had deal with her. According to Rav Yaakov, it only applies he consummated with her, and he says she's not a virgin. According to Rabbanan, what does it mean? It's even if he didn't consummate with her. What do you mean he doesn't know if she's a virgin? One thing to say there's Adam, but sounds like I didn't find any virginity in her. So what does it mean? He says, I didn't find any effectively witnesses who could say that she was a virgin. Rashi explains, Adam, I didn't in other words, I have two witnesses who came along and said that she committed adultery. Well, I haven't found anybody who can contradict those witnesses and can refute those witnesses. I haven't found anybody do that and say, and if they refute those witnesses, then your daughter is fit. She's absolutely, but I haven't found anything. That's what it means. It doesn't mean literally I consummated with her and there were no psulim in her body. It means I haven't found anybody to refute the claim that she committed adultery, and that refute that claim, and therefore she would be psulim. Oh no, because it's only based on, according to the Chachamim, what we're saying, it's only based on claims and counterclaims of witnesses. He has no proof that she was a virgin. He never consummated. He could. It's possible the whole case could be even if he didn't consummate with her. What's going on over here? He heard that rumors that she had committed adultery, and two witnesses came along and said, "We know that she committed adultery. We know she committed adultery. She was presumed to be a psula. Don't forget, she has a chazaka that she was a psula. She has presumption chazaka she was a psula. She was betrothed, etc., and she was a psula. It said on the invitation, kala psula maholula. She was a psula. Two Adam come along, she committed adultery. Okay, and what does it mean lamatzas psulim? I haven't found anybody to refute those witnesses. If I get along, A and B came along and said that she committed adultery. If C and D would come along and say, Imanu Yisim, you were with us in St. Louis, so I find, okay, so those first witnesses are liars. I haven't found C and D. All I have is A and B, and A and B claim that she committed adultery, even when it was warned against it. That's what he means here. I haven't found anybody to make your daughter fit, because all I have here is two witnesses, and two witnesses in the Torah is believed like anybody. Is the strongest testimony as you can get, who claim that she committed adultery. Oh, according to Rav Yaakov, right, who says that the whole parsha is only speaking about when the husband consummated with her. So you could say the father comes along and says, "What? Here are the psulim." What do you mean? Here are the psulim? Well, how does he show you the psulim? He has the sheet that they slept on and showing the dam, etc. What is he saying? Here are the psulim. The whole case is even if there's no, even again, how do you prove that she's a psula? Yeah, how do you prove that she's a psula? Like you say, how do you prove that something that she didn't commit adultery? How do you prove that? It says, that's what he means to say. Here are the witnesses who refute the first witnesses to prove that she's still a psula. The first witnesses are liars. The Torah says if A and B come along and say one thing, and C and D come along and say Mano Yisim, we believe C and D. That's what he means. That here are the witnesses. I have proof. In other words, none of this is the way the pasuk reads that you're looking at the girl, you're doing an examination, a physical examination of the girl. It's all about the witnesses. The husband claims here, I got two witnesses say she committed adultery. The father says, no, I got two other witnesses says that the A and B are liars. We're at the first of the widest lines near the bottom of the page. They will spread the garment, meaning they'll lay it out and see if there's blood there. What does that mean? The whole case comes up even if he didn't consummate. They will spread out and examine all these different claims. The husband's claim and the father's counterclaim. Each one's Adam comes along. The husband has A and B. The father has C and D. And they decide, they clarify the matter to see who's telling the truth. They clarify it like a new garment. As a new garment is clean and clear, that's how they clarify it. No, the Rabbis says, no, the pasuk means very simply, simla mamash. Look at the garment itself, look at the sheet that they slept on, and determine the facts from there. Bar Guri, Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan, he sent the following question. Many times the pasuk says Mishkivei Isha, Mishkivei, sleepings, meaning when it comes to any case of adultery, it makes a difference if the adulterers had bia in the normal fashion, or whether it was a normal fashion, we call anal sex, if they had shelo kedarka. The same thing applies. In other words, a person can't say, well, he didn't really commit adultery with this married woman because he didn't what we call penetrate. He didn't penetrate in her vagina. No, if he had bia anyway, it's the same punishment. In other words, even though we don't find the chol tarkul, whenever it comes to any case of adultery, whether it's adultery with a sister or adultery with a married woman, whatever it is, whatever the forbidden marriage is, we never find that there's no difference between bia kedarka and shelo kedarka, lamakus longshin, whether the punishment is malchus or any other punishment. Avamotzi shemra cholak, right? There is a difference. Until apparently the husband sleeps with her shelo kedarka, motzi shemra kedarka, and he's motzi shemra that she lost her virginity by having bia kedarka. So what do you mean? The husband had to have bia shelo kedarka with her? What does that mean? He had a counter there. Again, this is according to Rav Yaakov, right? Because you don't have to have it all. So what do you mean? If this goes like the Rabbanan and Afagav low ball, what does he have to do? What does the husband have to consummate shelo kedarka? He doesn't have to have consummation at all. We just said his claim can be the husband's claim can be he has these two witnesses, whether he didn't even consummate with her. He has no idea whether she's really a virgin or not. Just what the Adam claimed that she committed adultery. So what does that mean? They're both kedarka, because he says, according to Yaakov, the man is claiming I consummated with her, and when I had bia ba'osa makam kedarka, there were no psulim there. So they're both kedarka being. And Ella, it must be this. It must be a mistake the way this memo was sent. Ella shalach Rav Kana mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan. When Rav Kana sent the name Rabbi Yochanan, what he sent was this. In other words, we said, how do we start by saying here that Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yaakov Bar Gur Mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan said this? We changed that. Shalach Rav Kana Mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan. This is what he means. Eino chayav ad sheyivol kedarka v'yotzi shema kedarka. And according to Rabbanan, the husband doesn't have to consummate at all. He just has to bring the witnesses. He hired the witnesses, whether he paid them or not. According to Rabbanan, you don't even have to pay them. He brought these witnesses and claims that she committed adultery. And the counterclaim is, no, those witnesses are false witnesses because we have C and D who refute them. But according to Rav Yaakov, the whole parsha only applies to be consummated. So he says that he's not chayav until he has bia with her kedarka, v'yotzi shemra kedarka. In other words, until the bia was kedarka, the husband's bia was kedarka, and he's motzi shemra that she had bia kedarka. Even the Amar Dvarim Kiksavan, it only works if, according to Rav Yaakov, now interesting, says it's mashma that we pass like Rav Yaakov, which is a little bit strange. We would think of Rabbanan and Rav Yaakov, we would go like Rabbanan. But from the Rambam Sechet, apparently it's mashma that we pass Rav Yaakov that the parsha only applies if the husband consummated, and he consummated. He says yes, she's not a psul, and then he brought Adam to that effect. Otherwise, it's simply a claim, like we said at the beginning of the beginning of Masechet. If he claims Pesach Batzuch Matzasi, right? What's she claim? She might claim, yeah, I had an accident, I had a horse riding accident, or whatever happened before. It all depends what the claims are. These claims that she's killed, etc., and he pays a fine, gets malchus is only if we're talking about whether Adam there that could determine the issue 100%, then there would be the proper punishments. Otherwise, it's claim and counterclaim. Says the Mishnah. This is a famous Mishnah brought down elsewhere in Ksubas and also in Kedushin. Many of its points we've already mentioned. Of Zakai, a father has the authority over his daughter, Babito, Bikidusha, because of Shtabiyah. The Gemara in Kedushin discusses how do the woman could be married, betrothed in one of three manners. Kesef, which is what we do. Kesef or Shavah Kesef. A ring is Shavah Kesef. You can give her, not a check. A check is not worth it unless it's considered that the shtar. A shtar could be written, I am Mekadosh you, etc. So Gemara there learns out that you can Mekadosh either with Kesef, shtar, or bia. The custom today is we do Kesef, give money, or the value of money like a ring. Right? The shtar, a regular shtar, it has no value to it. It's just a piece of paper, but it's written on there. Or with bia. The rabbis discourage bia. They says that's pretzis, that's considered promiscuous to be Mekadosh Nisha that way, just with Bia, but they all work. But it's the father who has the authority to give her over to decide who she's going to marry until the age, while she's a Tana, or up until the age of 12 and a half. Here's the I don't know what you call it, the anomaly that even though she's bat mitzvah at the age of 12, the father still decides who she marries until the age of 12 and a half. That's the point. Whether she's a Tana or not, the father decides that. No, when it says Zakai, Zakai means he has the right, but he also means he has the authority to marry off his daughter, give her over in Kedushin, with either with Kesef Shtar or Bia, the three ways you can Kaddish her. In other words, he could say, and that's the reason why he's the one who loses the money, and he gets the money because since he can give her over to Bia, to even a Mukashkan might pay him, a disgusting, repulsive man might pay him a lot of money to get his daughter. So that's money that's he's entitled to, and he gets the money. If it's Kesef or Shtar or Bia, however he gives it over, he's entitled to the money. So he has the authority and he has the rights to the money. Zakim Siyasa, anything that she finds while she's a Tana or Nara, he's entitled. And we'll discuss all reasons why for each one of these cases and her paycheck. Which makes a Durham, if she's not betrothed yet, if she's simply in her father's house, up until the age of 12 and a half, he can break her in a Durham. Remember, our first Durham, our Tusdar. Tusdar is what we do with a rabbi or a bezdin, and there's Mata Nedam Afrei. A father or a husband breaks the net or only Mikan Lava within that day that he heard about it. Umakabal is Gita. If she's still a betrothed, let's say he married. Remember, we talked about a girl who can make niyan if she's like a Yisam Machayaviyah. If he married her off when she was 5 and she got divorced when she was 6 or 7, who receives the divorce? The father does. But at that point, I take it back. Only if he betrothed her, if he gave her for Kedushin, then the father still gets the get. As long once she's fully married, the husband buried her fully, even if she's 5 or 6, the father's out of the picture now. And he gives her a get against her will. Kid doesn't know what's going on. As long as she knows that she's divorced, that's considered a divorce. Umakabel is gita, but again, he's makabel or get as long as she's not fully married. Rashi is makabel is gita in this garshim and erison. Before she becomes a geras, but here's the key: once she's 12 and a half, or if she's fully married, the father is no rishus over it. A father can marry off his daughter when she's 1 day old. Only once. If he's fully married. Now, if he just betrothed her, if he just and she got divorced from that, then he's still in charge. Then she still belongs to him. If he's not fully married, but once she's fully married, you're right. Only once. That's it. Right. Abu Bagra Onisas Shuvain Lavashusla. Okay. So, but again, if she's fully married, if she's only betrothed, then he gets the get. He gets a Makabalas get until the age of 12 and a half. But he doesn't have the rights to eat a Paris. Let's say he has his daughter, and the daughter all of a sudden received the Yerusha from her mother's great uncle. Let's say, the guy died and left her a Yerusha. Not, let's say the mother's dead or something like that. Her mother's dead, but she received the Yerusha from some grandfather, great uncle, whatever, and it belongs to her. It doesn't belong to the father. When would it belong to the father? If she died, if his daughter died with no children, it goes to the father. But if she's alive and it's hers, the father's not entitled to eat the peiros. What does he do? He has to put it in a trust, so to speak. Take care of it and put it in a trust. But he's not entitled to have any benefit of it. Nisis, let's say she gets married. Even this girl up until the age of 12 and a half gets fully married. Then Yesod Abal. Abal surpasses the father. The husband surpasses the father in his rights, because he has many of these rights, like breaking your nadarim and paychecks, etc. He's entitled to, that's called nechse maluk. A husband, right? That a husband, if a husband's married and all of a sudden the wife receives a Yerusha on her side of the family, that's hers, belongs to her, doesn't belong to him. If she dies, maybe he inherits her, right? But if it's hers, if she survives, it's hers. Except he's entitled to eat the peiros. That's called nechse maluk. He's entitled to eat the peiros. The father can't eat the nechse maluk. But Chaim said a husband also has a responsibility that he has to provide food for her. He has to redeem her if she's taken into captivity. And he has to bury her. Even the poorest Jew, if his wife dies, should at least provide for 2 flutes and one wailer. These women used to wail and scream, cry at the that was the custom. They would have flutes and wailers and lamenters. Oh yeah, they would. That's probably where that came from, So you have to have at least that. Now the Gemara says, how do we know that the father's entitled to her kesef kedushin? If the husband gives her a diamond ring worth $1 million or something, and that belongs to him, then the kesef by an amar of riyah. An amar of riyah is like an evet ivri, right? It can be sold for 6 years. An amar of riyah also can be sold. He can sell his daughter up until the age of 12, not 12 and up until the age of 12. He marries off. He can sell his daughter to be a maidservant for somebody, right? So when does she go out? Either after 6 years, like an evet ivri, or when she's 12 at her 12th birthday. So it says over there, at that point, she goes out at 12 years old. She goes out free and kesef. In other words, you don't have to pay the master. I'm redeeming her. I'm taking her out of captivity, like selling a slave. So when you sell a slave, what happens? You sell a slave. So A pays A is one buyer. He's paying B, the current owner, the current master. He's paying for it. Here he goes out at 12. At the age of 12, she goes out. There's no money. So darshans ain't kesef l'adon zev yesh kesef l'nacher. There's no kesef for this master, but there is kesef for another master. When her father, who's also her master, when he sells her off or he marries her off, he's entitled to money. Money who's at her father. More Rashi brings out the more over there says that we need the brush for the Pashup shot. But anyway, that's what we bring the dash name. One over here. Maybe she gets the money. All it says is v'yatzachinam by the Amar Ivriya. Then she goes out for free. You don't have to pay her master anything. She goes out at 12 years old. There's no kesef, but there is kesef when she goes out from her father. When her father sells it, maybe she keeps the money herself. Who says that the father gets to keep it? If he's the one who could decide who she marries, he's the makabel kedusha. It says this in this parsha, our parsha of Motzi Shemra, right? That's maybe what's brought down over here. She's going to get the money. If he's the one who decides who can give it to, he can decide, I want you to go this one, that one. So why should she get the money? He's the one who's making the decision over here. He's the one, he has the authority to marry her off to whoever he wants. So he should keep the money. Maybe it's a convalescent. Who says that she, just the fact that he can decide who she marries doesn't mean that he gets to keep the money. Maybe that's fine by Iktana, who has no hand, meaning she's considered a shota. She has no ability to hold to possess things. But a Nara, she's 12 years old, she's bat mitzvah. Maybe she should marry off herself. Again, don't forget, by Amar Bria is only till the age of 12. So maybe, up until the age of 12, an Amar Bria and a girl who's married off by her father are the same thing. That the father, the master, if she's an Amar Bria, doesn't get any money, but the master until the age of 12, if he marries her off, the father who's her master marries her off, then he gets the money. But when she's 12, just like she's not an Amar Bria anymore, maybe she should also be able to decide who she wants to marry. She should marry herself. In other words, again, it means to say that, even though she's bat mitzvah, the point is that the father has authority to decide who she marries. She can't marry anybody on her own. Even though she's bat mitzvah, she can't marry. It's her father makes the decision. Her father marries. But why is that? She's bat mitzvah. She can have her own bank account. She can make her own decisions. She can make her own business dealing. She's 12 years old. She's bat mitzvah. Maybe she should marry off herself and she should take the money. In the parsha, in Matos, right? It says over there, while she's in Na'ara, she's in her father's house. Any gain, any increase, any profit that she makes during her Na'aras, until the age of 12 and a half, goes to her father. Gemara says, is that the case? Anything, that's the pasuk you're learning out from the Amara. We had this before. How do we know that the father gets to keep her paycheck? Shemar says, if a father sells his daughter as an amma as a servant, just like an amma, her paycheck, everything that she works goes to her master. Daughter also, anything goes to her father. Lamali, what do I need the pasuk for? You have the pasuk with her base. Anything she's in Arab to the age of 12 and a half. If just the opposite, might only be until the age of 12, just like it can only be sold till the age of 12. Also, maybe the paycheck to her father only goes up until the age of 12. But Rabbi Savia teaches me until the age of 12 and a half. And if you say Rabbi Savia teaches me that she keeps that the father gets everything, so maybe why do you need the pasuk of chiyim korespita? I'm learning from Rabbi Savia. The answer is that The Rabbi Savi is not a good Rosh here. That's speaking about a Parsha Dorim. That Parsha Matos is speaking about. Remember that if she makes a netter, the father breaks it, B'Sham Aviyah, and he breaks the netter. That's a Parsha Dorim. There he can break it till the age of Siv. So learn out from Parsha Dorim. We're not. You can't learn out money from Isser. They were talking about Isser. She forbade something on herself. She forbade. She's not going to eat chicken or carrots or something. She forbade something upon herself. She made a netter. There, the father can break it up to the age of 12. You want to learn out a case of mammon from Isser, you don't learn out. Isser is usually more chomer. Learn from knas. The father gets the knas, the 50 shekels by onus mafata and by motzi shemra. The father gets the money there. So learn out here. The father should get her kesef kedushin. But again, you can't learn out a regular money matter, a regular civil money matter. You can't learn it from knas. Knas is a special halacha. Learn from Moshe Gam is mammon because Moshe mammon is what value. You shamed her. You decreased her value. That's money. You did damages, you pay. There, the father gets that. So the same thing. Learn out from there. Learn out here that the kesef kedushin should also go to the father there. Shani bosh v'gam davian amshachba. He's also embarrassed by it. Rashi learns also because he has the ability to embarrass her by marrying her off to a Murav Mukashchen. And he also, it's his loss if he wants to sell her off or marry her off. In other words, the father also, you can say, it's not just that he has the ability to marry her off, but he also has the loss over here. If she suffers shame, he's also suffering shame. And her decrease in value, her depreciation also affects his money because he's the one who can marry her off and how much money he would get. So, Shana Boskam Davianam Mishachba. Ella, again, we're back to our question. How do you know? I understand up until the age of 12 that since he could sell her, he's also entitled to her money. But from 12 to 12 and a half, why shouldn't she marry off herself? And why shouldn't she be able to keep the money? In other words, it means this, that when we learn out from Yasachinim, going back to Yasachinim and Kasef, there's no money for this master, but there is money for another master. We're talking about a Yitzia, the same kind of Yitzia. What does that mean? Rashi, in the third of the wide lines, explains like this: Yitzia the Kavasik of Mai, just like Kesef Yitzia Adon, the Yitzia Adon, when she leaves a master, if she was a slave, if there would be money. You're saying over there, you don't have to pay the master. The slave master doesn't get any money. Ain't Kasef. But if there would be money, it would go to the Adon. Shiyotzimenu. So by Mavi should go to him, compete and go like paying off for taking away out of your ownership. I'll pay you for it. When you buy something from somebody, you pay him for it. In other words, let's say she was sold for $60 for 6 years. So if you buy her back after 4 years, you give her $20. It's $10 a year. So the same way you would think that you pay the master for what she's worth. When there is a kesef for this adon, for her father who's marrying her off, it's also the adon. She yotzimenu. It's not the same. It's not apples and apples. It's apples and oranges. To this master, but there is kesef for the other one. And the father has rishus over up until the age of 12 and a half, and therefore he should keep the money. In other words, we understand, and therefore we're saying, so it's lo from Yatzachinim and kesef. So therefore, we're saying that even as long as the father has rishus over her to marry her off until the age of 12 and a half, he's also entitled to the money from the Yasachinim and Kasem. But you can't compare this Yitzia, the two are not the same. In the case of the Adon, she's leaving his rishus entirely. So therefore, you say over there, Yitzia da'av, akatem mechsum masir l'chuppah, but over here she's not totally out of his rishus, because even when she's leaving the father's rishus, he's still not entirely out of his rishus. The father's still the one who's entitled to marry her off. The answer is ma'afar sadarim miyam after, but she goes out of his rishus at least as far sadarim. We should say why the Tanam Rosa Avio Bala Mefir in the Dorab. Meaning this, when a father's entitled to break his daughter's adarm until the age of 12 and a half. However, we learn if he betrothed her to somebody, then who breaks her neder? Both of them together. So he doesn't have rishus over her anymore. So we're saying over here, the Yitzia, partial, but it's not full. So we're saying over Yatzachinim and Kasef, there's no money to the Adon when she gets out at the age of 12 and there's no money there, but there is kesef for another adon to her father who's entitled to marry off until the age of 12 and a half. And we said, so maybe from the age of 12, she should get her own kesef, etc. She should be entitled to do it. The answer is yes, and kesef. Kesef, there is no kesef for this one. There is kesef for the father who's entitled to marry off until 12 and a half. Therefore, she's also entitled to keep the money, because otherwise it wouldn't be a good rush. It wouldn't be ain kesef adam zeh. There's no kesef for this adon. Who's that on the master of the slave? And there is for the other master, for the father who's entitled to marry her off. So in order for it to be a proper proper comparison, like hadadi, got to be a comparison. So he's entitled to the money, just like the master would be entitled to the money if the pasuk wouldn't say ain kasef. The same way the father who is entitled to the money, he's entitled to the money, not the daughter. It's like Marcia, but they're not the same, because there you see he's leaving her entirely. Here he's not. She's not leaving her father's wishes entirely. He still has the ability to, he's the one who marries her off, sends her to the chuppah, but at least partially he's lost his rishus over, because when it comes to a debtor, he has to break the debtor together with the husband. And we talk about shtar ubiyah. How do we know shtar ubiyah? That he is the one. That a woman could be married with kesef, not only with kesef. That's not from Ephron the Gemara and Kedushin, and we learn out shtar ubiyah that let's say a girl's 20, she can marry off with kesef or shtar ubiyah on her own. That's learned out the Gemara and Kedushin. But how do we know that this goes to the father? The father the one who gets the shtar, and he's the one who decides who can marry over biyah. However she gets married, whether it's with kesef or with shtar or with biyah, which are the reasons why those work, is brought down in Kedushin, but that if the father makes the determination here, he's the one who can give her over for biyah against her will, and he's the one who can marry off with the shtar against her will and receive the kesef against her will. That's learned out that all the ways of marriage are all the same, and if he's entitled to one, he's entitled to one for the kesef, he's entitled to the shtar and the biyah as well. So that's the idea, is mekadesher even against her will. That's Rashi says it somewhere here, that even against her will, he makes that determination. It belongs to him, not to he makes that determination, not to her. All right, we'll pick him here tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem Daf Mem Zayin. Have a good day, everybody. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. Thank you.